pleasure to be here today. It's always fun to talk to people about my passion, which is startups. And more importantly than startups, it's positioning them so that they can grow and become productive companies. Big companies can afford missteps or two and still survive, which is getting back to the point that if you're a startup, if you're looking to start a company, you have to be more nimble. There are things that an entrepreneur needs in terms of flexibility and openness to change that change as things move into larger organizations. But you have to be aware of it as you're moving in. So that leads me to second stage growth. We've talked about being the entrepreneur, getting out there, seeing your vision, seeing how it moves forward, getting that product tested, having enough money to make sure that it's going to work, getting it into the marketplace. And all of this often happens in a pretty unstructured scramble, but the head of that organization has to be thinking about where it's going to go after that. You can work in a business forever, and as an owner, a founder, an entrepreneur, a manager, you need to be able to step back every once in a while. So, one of the images that we all had on our wall was something about, how can you avoid the crocodiles if you don't have time to drain the swamp, with the idea being that if you're all caught up in the details and everything has to happen at once and you just can't stand back and think about it because, gosh, there's all this stuff that has to happen right now and it has to be done. As a manager, as somebody who is going to transition into the next stage, you absolutely have to be able to tell yourself that part of your job is taking that step back and doing the planning and doing the organization that's necessary so that other people can come in behind you and work in your company. So let's go step back a little bit and talk about founder strategies. These entrepreneurs, these geniuses that are out there inventing or thinking about things. And as you get into that second stage, I think you got three options. And one is to say, hey, I'm an inventor. I like to go out and come up with new ideas and dream about things that might be, this is the time to shake hands with everybody and say goodbye and have my share of the company, however you work that out, and go off and invent something else. Another thing that happens is a lifestyle business. Does everybody understand the concept of lifestyle business? A lifestyle business is one where growth is not the major objective. You look at like mom and pop grocery stores, single location retail shops. These are kind of the things that people think about when they talk about lifestyle business. And the last thing is building the business. And if you're building the business, you need to be prepared to be in there for the long haul, to stretch with the company as it grows. I'll go back and talk about my experience with Grove and Noyce and Moore. They did a phenomenal job. They grew that company from nothing to $500 million, something like that, before they started retiring and moving out into emeritus positions. And they saw that as their goal, and they were perfectly happy to do that. So if you want to move into that second stage, this is what I call business with a capital B. And you need an experienced management team. When you have business with a capital B, you have to have clearly articulated products and benefits. Scalability, we talked about that. How do you get somebody else in line quickly? Build a manufacturing line, build a marketing department, build a financial department. It doesn't really matter what it is. You need to be able to bring somebody in and have them understand how to move forward quickly. And that is often a major differentiator. When you got a startup, sometimes it's, hey, you got skills I really like, come on in, we'll figure out a place for you. Doesn't happen later. When you get into that second stage, that's not when you're creating positions based on the person most of the time. That's when you know what you need and you go out and look for somebody to fill that position. In this second stage growth is where jobs really start coming in. It's where revenues really start coming in. It's where the business becomes a part of the infrastructure of the area that they're in. It's a really exciting stage. It's different. It's also where corporate responsibility comes in a lot. It's when you start thinking about how you're impacting the community, how the community is impacting you. It's when you get involved with your political leaders and other folks and really find yourself to be part of the community. So I believe that second stage growth is really going to be one of the economic drivers of the 21st century. I think it was an area that back when the corporate guy was somebody that was admired and a goal that kids would have in high school to go off and be a corporation man. It provided that infrastructure. As things have evolved, as the creative spirit and startups and all that have gained the glamour, these folks that we need to really get those companies growing and functioning have lost ground in terms of the supply of them and also the value that we put on that position. And I think we need to move back and value that more. And that means experience. If you find somebody that understands these managerial techniques, grab them. And back, in the 70s and early 80s, you went to business school after you had 5 or 6 years experience in an organization. But that's the problem with theoretical learning without the experience behind it, is things that sound like they're absolutely brilliant might have missed the soul of a problem.